So I mean, people tell you those stories all the time. I'm sure people tell you all of these stories, and you're like, okay, what am I getting myself into? So for me, it was kind of, I just wanted to make it positive, kind of not talk, well, I still talk to those people that said that, but I just ignored what they had to say. I didn't try and Google complications because the nurses and doctors are willing to tell you what the complications are. You just kind of have to prove them wrong. So I took it more of a challenge that I was going to make diabetes just something that I could make a positive, and it wasn't going to bring me down. I started writing a blog after I got home from the hospital. So I was in the hospital for 5 days. I'm diagnosed in Brantford, Ontario, if you know where that is. And so I was there for 5 days, and then after I got out, I was like, I need to do something. So I started writing a blog. And it started off as a Facebook note kind of thing. And I just basically said everything that was told to me in the hospital. This is what I'm going through. I don't really know what it is, whatever. And I got a lot of positive feedback from people who didn't even have diabetes on my Facebook, saying like, good for you, like you're giving yourself needles, like I could never do that. And it's like, well, if it was up to saving your life, you probably would. Not really understanding diabetes, but just going through the motions of it and gaining a lot of experience and opportunities from living with diabetes. So the blog has been a major part of my diabetes life. I've tracked things like dating, so how to tell someone you're diabetic while you're dating. Maybe your children have already asked you, I don't know. But that might be something. And if not, just send them to my blog because I can't figure it out. And things like going to university, living on your own. So I was diagnosed in the March before going to Fanshawe. So I pretty much had to figure it out on my own because I wasn't a child with diabetes. My parents got with my blog, and I've received amazing feedback, crazy questions, tons of different aspects of people coming from different parts of the world asking about diabetes, and it's nice to kind of give back in that sense. I also created, a year ago, a page called Type 1 Diabetes Memes, which is, I don't know if you know what memes are, but they're really popular with the universities, so they're pictures with captions. So I created this page kind of worried because I was like, some people are going to take this like wrong, that I'm making fun of diabetes. However, I'm not making fun of diabetes. There's also things that happen as a diabetic that are funny and that kind of stuff, like eating everything when you go low, having no control. So I started this page doing all these pictures, and quickly, before I know it, now it's at 11,000 likes on Facebook. And so my other friend, because I couldn't handle it because I have a million different other things, so her and I have been working on this, and it's amazing because it took a different twist on diabetes. So now people are laughing. And yes, we do get people who are like, diabetes is the devil's disease, like you don't know what you're talking about. And then we'll have to be like, we also have type 1 diabetes, like we know what we're talking about. And so we get the odd, but for the most part we get a lot of people who are like, they had the message, and I was eating chips, and I was like, like, probably, like, and then I put the kids to bed, and I was doing like sit-ups. I was like, oh my god, like, I really want to do this, but like, can I do it? And so then I needed like my whole like life. I needed all my friends and stuff to give me like opinion if I should do it. So I called my dad, and he's like, yeah, it's awesome. Like, don't turn it down. You have to do it. And I called my boyfriend, and he's like, yeah, that's amazing. And I called my mom, and she's like, no, you're not going. And I was like, why? It is so dangerous. You're not going. And I was like, but it's for a documentary, and maybe I'll end up on Ellen. And she's like, oh. And she's like, sure, like, there's a nursing doctor. I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. Like, I could be famous. Like, and then she was fine, of course. And she's like, do you need to bring anyone? And I was like, Mom, you couldn't make it up the hill. And she's like, I can wait at the bottom. And like, so she's okay with it now. But it's going to be, for sure, a challenge. But I do want it to be something that kind of inspires you guys, thinking that your children can do whatever they want. I mean, I haven't done it yet, but I'm pretty sure I'll make it up and back down. I'll have the support to do it, and I'm working out every day. But things like that, type 1 diabetes in the smaller class, there may not be anyone, and I'm the only one. But I know I have that support. I can just go on Facebook and talk to a diabetic right away. Or I can text one of my friends who has diabetes and feel that connectedness. And I think that's a really big thing with your children or as parents of type 1 diabetics, because there is a lot of Facebook pages too for parents with children with diabetes. I think having that support is a major thing, and it's just like climbing this mountain, even though it seems super unrealistic, it's going to happen. Having that support to climb the mountain, I'm not worried about my diabetes. even though I'm sure I'll have like a billion lows, and I'll probably hate diabetes as I'm climbing the mountain because I can't predict what's going to happen. I have a feeling that everyone's going to be going low and stuff at the same time because we'll be eating the same and we'll be doing the same. But at the same time, that's not my worst fear. My worst fear is sleeping in a tent and because I've never even camped before, so I'm such a great candidate for this. But my positive attitude will get me on the mountain and knock down. And so that's kind of what I'm about. I don't personally know a lot about research and the science behind diabetes. That's never been the person that I am. I've never been really into technology, and I mean, I love my pump, but I couldn't tell you like the workings of it, other than bolusing and stuff like that. So mine's more about the support, and I think that that's the one thing that keeps people checking their blood sugar and keeps people setting goals for lower A1Cs. Because if you could have an endocrinologist, or you could have your nurses telling you what to do, or your parents, there's nothing against parents, but you could have the parents telling what to do. But if you have that community of type 1 diabetics, and I mean, I'm sure they're having an amazing time seeing everyone else on there, knowing that other people are going low or have high blood sugar. Because it makes you feel like there's other people like you, and even when you're not directly with them, you know, like, oh, I'm going through such a bad day, like so-and-so is also probably going through a bad day. Just peace of mind that you're not the only one going through this disease, because it can really get on your nerves. I'm sure as parents you know that too, like it can really get on your nerves, and it can become very tedious, and sometimes you can feel like you're doing everything you can, but you still have high blood sugars. And I'm really noticing that now as I work out every day. Sometimes it's frustrating because you're like, I just worked my butt off for an hour and I'm sitting here with like 10 granola bars that I just finished off. Like, there's that kind of aspect to it. Like, you really have to kind of have that positive outlook to get through such a crazy disease. Other than that, I'm just a normal person. Living with diabetes. I've lived a life without diabetes longer than I've lived a life with diabetes, so I'm still learning. However, in the past 4 years, I have done more, accomplished more, and learned more than I have in those other previous years. I've been given so many opportunities for diabetes, and there's so much there for your children to experience. There's so many amazing people doing amazing things with diabetes, and it's funny because when you think about it, you usually hear like someone who's diagnosed with cancer or diabetes are the ones doing these crazy like Iron Man things, and you're like, why are they doing it? And I think it's because we realize how fragile our life is and how many things that are really out there. So when you're not faced with that difficulty, you just kind of go day by day, waiting for things. It was cool to write back and forth to her. And so she messaged me about the mountain thing because she was going to represent Barbados. And that's when I read the message for the trip down and did some sit-ups. And so now, someone who I've been writing letters to for 2 years, I'm going to meet in Africa on the mountain, so that's pretty cool. Fantastic. So, yeah, I also, on Facebook, I have...
And they have the high sea level there. Did they tell you that it might affect your diabetes?
Yes. So, we haven't gotten too much information, but I have a few friends that have type 1 that climb the mountain. And basically they're saying that it could make your meters a little wonky. So to bring that I was actually, it's stupid of me, but I was picturing like a porcelain toilet. I was like, that's what I'm like, there's going to be bathrooms. And then I looked and I was like, oh. I'm like, I don't know about that, that's not a toilet. So we'll see. That's probably the things I'll vlog about. Like, you guys will be reading it and be interested in hearing like about the climb and like the toilet was up on the ground. And there was an animal.
How many days would it take to climb?
It's 5 days up and 2 days down. So we have an itinerary. So on the 1 day down, as many times I get asked, do you really have a patron? 1990, of course not.
People actually go to the bathroom to do it? It's like, that's the most unsanitary place in the world. I'm not going to.
But that's where they used to tell you to go.
It's not that long ago that they did, because my sister took the dietitian program at Western maybe 10 years ago. They were going to act like diabetics for a week, so they injected saline. And they actually I did all the injections, they did all the finger pricks or whatever for a week, just so that they would get a feel for what it was like. But they were they always had to leave and go to the washroom to do it. They never did it in
Yeah,
public.
part of that too is the comfort of the other people around.
I suppose.
You know, like when I went in, you know, like you see the number of people that'll say, I could never do that. Okay, there's a discomfort with needles.
I guess
So a
some
lot of the
people-
times, and again, yeah, I was a closet diabetic, but a lot of the times too, I was trying to think also of the people around people. Like it's easier with the pump, because the pump is very indiscreet,
It's like a
right? You
text,
just
yeah.
push a couple buttons and it's fine. But, you know, to start pulling out.
No, but I'm saying that I think that the spirit of it is, you know, this is what we do.
Yeah, I think we've done a disservice. I think in terms of the education of people out there, the more we do it, the less of a big deal it is, and the more they learn.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was just saying to somebody too, you know, the language changes when you walk up to somebody and you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it, my daughter's high again today.
That's okay. When
Yeah.
he was on the inhalable insulin, the kids used to find it, especially our diabetic daughter, used to find it.
The more that they do it in front of their peers, the more their peers aren't
Yeah.
stupid when something is wrong. Now, sometimes she has 14 mothers though.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes all you need is one of those to tell you something.
Or know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And I don't hide checking or anything, and even with injections, the only reason I was doing on the tail is because I'm wearing a dress and I'm not. I would never leave to do it.
But it's also what's in your child's comfort.
All of you graduating, we just want to give you a little thank you for coming here all the way from London to your Saturday off, just talk to your parents. So very inspiring. So we'll give you guys like a 10-minute break, and then we have yoga. So feel free to change into